why it's happening. And as I listened today to different talk show hosts, as I was a captive in my vehicle because I had to go again for doctor's appointments and things and go out, well, actually, it made me cry. A lot of things make me cry, but this is pretty bad. And hi, S. Shiva. So I'm going to read this from 2017 from The Nation, just to recap for people who may not remember everything about why this is happening. And it's how the U.S. foreign policy helped create the immigration crisis. Neoliberal strictures, support for oligarchs, and the war on drugs have impoverished millions and destabilized Latin America. Now, this was October 18th, 2017. As is price for not deporting roughly 800,000 dreamers who came to this country as children, Donald Trump demands an escalated war against immigrants, topped by his nightmarish 2,000-mile wall along the Mexican border. Democrats have said no. Whether or not some sort of deal is eventually struck, the country will remain deeply divided over undocumented immigrants from the South. Unfortunately, though, that debate is entirely focused on domestic policy, how to treat the undocumented after they have arrived. Democrats, thinking Latinos will vote for them, want the newcomers to stay. Republicans, fearing Democrats are right, want them sent back. Employers want their cheap labor. Workers fear their wage competition. The clash of these agendas further inflamed simmering social tensions over racism, police tactics, and cultural identity, which in turn feed Trump's reactionary base. Lost in these U.S.-centric arguments is the role of our foreign policy in creating these conditions that push people in Central America and Mexico to make the long, arduous, and frequently fatal trek north. In the 1980s, Washington and its neoliberal collaborators began imposing policies that favored multinational corporations and hurt the working poor. Isn't that the way? For at least 150 years, the United States has intervened with arms, political pressure, and foreign aid in order to protect the business and military elites of these countries who have prospered by impoverishing the people. Still, illegal immigration from the region remained modest until the 1980s, when the U.S. government and its neoliberal collaborators at the IMF and the World Bank began imposing policies on the region that favored large multinational corporations, undercutting the small farms and businesses that had supported the working poor. Meanwhile, many of the oligarchs became partners in the growing narco-trafficking business. Protected by government officials, criminal gangs have spread through the region, adding threats of kidnapping, extortion, rape, and murder to the daily life of people struggling to make a living. A young Guatemalan recently told me, unless you are connected to one of the families that run this country, there's no future here. Either you work for the narcos or you go north. The war on drugs has given weapons and political protection to oligarchs. The U.S. response has been a war on drugs that provides the same oligarchs with political protection and more weapons. In 2009, for example, the Obama administration ensured the success of a coup by the Honduran military against an elected president whose modest social programs of food and education for the poor had enraged the ruling class. Since then, U.S. aid to Honduran oligarchs has more than doubled, yet two-thirds of Hondurans live in poverty. Large numbers inhabit shacks without toilets and can't afford to buy shoes for their children. And the murder rate among Latin American countries is second only to that of El Salvador, which has received even more U.S. aid. 5 years after the Honduran coup, the number of children illegally crossing into the United States increased by 1,272%. The ruling class in Mexico, despite the country's greater size and nationalist culture, has a similar relationship to us, to similar effect. The 1994 North American Free Trade Agreement, sold to Congress as a way to keep Mexicans home threw millions of peasants and small businesses out of work, and illegal immigration from Mexico doubled. Over the past 10 years, the United States has given Mexico $2 billion in technology and training, ostensibly to fight the drug cartels. Yet, as an international coalition of human rights groups reported in August, the documented cases of government-connected assassination, torture, and disappearance of activists, journalists, and ordinary people keeps piling up. True, higher fences and more dogs and drones have reduced the rate of illegal crossings, as has a reign of terror against the undocumented, midnight raids, mass deportations, and the ripping apart of families. But that has not stopped the drugs, and it will not stop people from fleeing for their lives. A recent poll reports that 1/3 of Mexicans, which is 43 million people, would come to the United States if they could. Even if Trump builds his wall, they will find a way around it or under it. We have trapped Latin American migrants between a foreign policy that drives them from home and a domestic policy that drives them back. A humane deal concerning the fate of the dreamers, although unlikely, would be welcome. This is 2 years ago. But the fundamental conflicts that poison our politics over this issue will remain. If we are ever finally going to resolve how we deal with them here, we need to change how we are dealing or what we are doing to them there. And that was a really good article. And it kind of gives you the background, the United States and our imperialistic ways. I'm patriotic American. I don't have to like everything that this country does. So what would it take to fix the immigration system? Hire more immigration judges, process asylum claims more efficiently, consider alternatives to family detention, send foreign aid, but don't rely on it, open up economic visas. There's a whole lot of things we can do. But, as we look at what's happened, it's pretty sick that we see, all this, my God, they're sending kids to detention camps in Florida. I'm just trying to see. I bet I'm pretty sunny today, huh? I can't even smile, you know. I think I'm probably got a little bit too much sun. I'll just move over a little bit. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. It's nice out. But this whole topic it's just disgusting. It's disgusting. And to me, it is endemic of what is becoming, well, what has always been the norm? What's always been the norm for people? People have always killed each other. People have always warred. People have always fought. Then we're going to have climate refugees. What are we going to do when that happens? In May, there was an article in The Hill. It says Trump administration makes a mockery of the asylum system. And they've been contemptuous of refugees and asylum seekers from its earliest days. We know we have that little shit Stephen Miller in there. I don't even want to read another one. There's just too much going on. You know, originally when this whole border crisis was going on and started, my main thing was I was so upset over the fact that animals and, this border wall was going to it was going to be an ecological devastation. And those walls would be, right? But I'm sorry, I'm really uncomfortable. It's more than just an ecological devastation. It is a devastation in every single which way you can think of, because it's just an example of the cruelty and inhumanity of civilization, of people, of society, of industrialized society. The United States wanted to keep the elites in power. Now what's happening in those countries is that the little coffee farmers and the little farmers are losing their territory to the big oligarchs, the big conglomerations. Hi, Marcia. Marcia says, my favorite story was when they put illegal aliens from Ghana on a plane and deported them back to Ghana. Ghana then said, no, not our people. And they flew back to the U.S. full. That's a while back. I'm just touched today. I'm upset. I'm sad. You see that picture? And of course you're going to be sad. I'm going to take it off. And that was the family. And the guy just wanted a different life for his wife and kids. He was making $300 a month. And what was really sad was that the little girl was put on the border, and her father was put into some system where he was never, it was, they were never going to get over. And he went to pick up the mom, came back, saw the little girl, didn't wait. She was scared. And she jumped in the water. I mean, this shit's going to happen over and over again. It's horrible. Happening over and over again. But if these people come from these other countries and they know that they are coming to this country to be in concentration camps, and concentration camp meaning a concentration of people. They're not work camps, they're not detainment camps, they're not killing camps yet. But they're here, and they're relegating them with no soap, no toothbrushes. This is not humane. How humane is this? We are inhumane, we are incivil, we don't care. All we care about is money, growth, fossil fuels. My heart is big. This Field and Stream says, yeah, I have a big heart. I think sometimes I have a big heart to a fault. You know, on the Environmental Coffee House page on Facebook, we put up things and a lot of stuff about animals and animal torture and animal agriculture. And people react incredibly, they flip out over it. And then you put up something about people, and in this one, I don't know. We haven't put this one up, but they flip out over the animals. Then I see this little kid, you know. Why do we have to be like this? You ask, answer me.